So I'm having this conversation with my daughter Molly about morality. We went on this hike. We're in the redwoods, and I knew our conversation had to continue from the previous few days before, when we'd had this little bit of an emotional discussion. So I asked her, "Do you know what a koan is?" And she says, "No, what's a koan? How do you spell that?" And I'm like, "I'm pretty sure it's Koan. And it's supposed to be like, you know, these mystical teachers of the East or whatever would ask their students these questions, and then they would meditate on this question, and it would help get them in that zone where you're meditating, your mind's just on one thing. And these would be questions that wouldn't have no simple answer. Each person would have to sort of come up with their own answer, you know, like the sound of one hand clapping. I've always said it's this. But anyway, so we joked about that a bit, and then I go, but I was thinking about this one that it's not really, I don't think it's really a koan, because it does have an answer. It's a simple answer. And that's, you know, people say this sometimes. If a tree falls in the forest, does it make a sound? And I was like, that's really simple, you know? And she's like, well, what do you mean, that it does? And I'm like, yeah, of course it does. I mean, that's ridiculous. Why wouldn't it? It's really not a question of how do you land on it. It's a question of your belief system, the way you see the world. And then Molly, like, she's so smart, she immediately says, so it's a test to see if you're selfish. And I'm like, yeah, right, you know, it's the whole world only exists when I'm there to see it. And so I went on to make a point that, you know, obviously if there's no humans around to hear the sound, there's still animals, you know. A forest implies animals. How's there's going to be, or even plants, you know, and sounds are echoes, vibrations, fields of energy. I mean, why wouldn't every living thing be able to recognize the sound of a tree falling? That's silly. So I'm going to keep going with this, but for now, I'm curious what you think. You know, if a tree falls in the forest, does it make a sound? Let me know. I'd love to get some replies back. It'll make this more interesting, because this is about to get a lot more interesting and controversial this coming week. All right, guys. Later on.